What is Bitcoin? In this video, I'll talk about what exactly Bitcoin is and talk a little bit about whom and why is this technology important to. And finally, I'll make some future guesses because let's be real, it is boring without the guesses. But first,
I would like to say I'm not a financial advisor and I believe I'm objective, but also I'm invested in the space. I have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. So you know where I stand.
But I'm also a soon computer science graduate and somewhat understand the technology behind Bitcoin.
And secondly, this video will not be a technical explanation of Bitcoin. It will just be more like a concept-wise what is Bitcoin. Nevertheless, I'll just give a quick summary for the technical side of the Bitcoin. Bitcoin basically uses a ledger system called blockchain. What blockchain does is it essentially makes it harder to change the past history of the transactions. Each block has X amount of transactions. With proof of work, it makes adding blocks hard. It essentially takes around 10 minutes or like something like that to approve a block. And once a block is approved by 51% of the miners, that block can be added to the blockchain. There are some small details, but basically all the miners have the blockchain, so it's a decentralized system that is hard to change. One of the ways to attack and change the system is called 51% attack. Since every block needs to be approved by 51% of the miners, if the 51% of the mining power is centralized, then that entity can add any block that he or she wants, which makes the cryptocurrency centralized. But as it stands right now, it is decentralized.
So Bitcoin was started as a type of currency. There are no physical Bitcoins, only balances kept on a public ledger that everyone has transparent access to. So all Bitcoin transactions are verified by a massive computing power, aka miners. Bitcoins are not issued or backed by any banks, any government, nothing, nobody. It's just a setup, a code that was created, and now it is set how much Bitcoin there are and how many Bitcoin will be mined every block. So in short, the trust in the code is available to everyone, but of course there are some problems with it. So first, there are some debates about Bitcoin not being completely decentralized because of the mining pools and expensive hardwares. That is a good concern to have. That is a totally fair point, but it is still much more decentralized than what we currently use. And Satoshi never imagined there to be mining pools and mining dedicated hardwares. So with modifications to Bitcoin, these can be overcome in future because there are some cryptocurrencies that does not allow mining pools and dedicated hardware. Of course, there are some ways around the dedicated hardware and stuff, but in general, there are some cryptocurrencies that do not allow it. So if we wanted to, we could add those type of things to Bitcoin. Not only that, but because it's all the history is in the blockchain and an attack can be detected. An attempt to break Bitcoin can be detected, can be easily seen since everything is saved and we know everything. So the moment that an attack is performed, we can always branch off a newer version of Bitcoin and still have our money saved. So what I mean by that is, let's say Bitcoin got hacked right now and out of thin air the many more Bitcoin is created. So what we can do is we can go back one block before it got hacked and branch off from that block and create a new cryptocurrency called the real Bitcoin, the one, and everyone will have their own money just before the hack, and the real the Bitcoin price will go to zero because it got hacked and nobody cares about it anymore. But the new version. So if you hold a Bitcoin, you will get the new version of the Bitcoin too, and then you can continue from the non-hacked version of it. So it is really prone to hacking. It is really trust in code, which can be seen and read. So I don't even think there needs to be trust in the code. So it's really trust in the public instead of one guy, instead of one fat guy. And this is like going back in time, which is possible. So it's very mobile, not physical, decentralized, and secure. But as the stupid people on SNL ask, so what is Dogecoin? Which I want to reply, do you not know what a currency is? What is a currency? A currency is a medium of exchange, like money, in form of coins, banknotes. Cryptocurrency is a form of currency, okay? So it is a medium of exchange. Currency is not something that you save up and hold in your bank account or in your wallet or whatever. And in order to be a medium of exchange, there are some features that the currency must have. So what are those features? First of all, it needs to be spendable. So if everyone is okay with using X currency as a medium of exchange, it will be spendable, which Bitcoin relatively is. There are many online merchants that accept Bitcoin nowadays. Bitcoin is somewhat accepted. So it ticks in that box. However, in order to be a currency, the transfer delay must be low. This is a big hurdle for Bitcoin because it is simply too slow. It does not make sense to pay something and wait for transaction to be completed in 30 minutes, which will get worse if it was being used by the whole world. While if you're using cash, it is instant. The Visa credit card transfers instant. I use quotation marks because it's actually not instant, but so considered instant. This is a big thing, and Bitcoin transfer delay is not low. There are some solutions to it, like Lightning Network, but classic Bitcoin, bad. Doesn't have the transfer delay low. It has a high transfer delay. So what is the other thing to be a currency? Transaction fee must be low. It's simple. People don't want their money to get burned for each transaction. Bitcoin kinda sucks in this transaction fee because Bitcoin transaction fee is a set value. It depends on the miners and stuff, but it's a set value. So it does not depend how much money you are transferring. And the set value is right now around $15. So if you're transferring millions or like thousands of dollars, it is an incredibly low transaction fee and Bitcoin is perfect. But if you're transferring $5, the transaction fee is higher than the transferred amount, which doesn't make sense to use. And in daily life and as a currency, your transaction fee must be small. And credit cards like Visa usually take 5 to 10% of the money to themselves, which is such a high transaction amount. And Bitcoin actually beats this if you're buying something over $150, Bitcoin is a cheaper way to transact the money. So in transaction fee part, Bitcoin is bad as a currency because if you're a currency, you need to be able to exchange small amounts, but it's still better than the alternatives that we currently have if you're transferring big amounts of money. So these are actually the most important part of money. As you can see, Bitcoin is not the best form of currency. Simply cash outperforms it in day-to-day usage. It's just better. This does not mean all cryptocurrencies suck as a form of currency. There are crypto projects out there with low fees, low transaction delays, somewhat accepted. I do not believe any of them will be used as a money in future. Because simply money is a tool. Money is a tool for buying stuff, and what people buy has a lot of information. It is such an important information. And no country, believe me, no country will make their money observable by everyone. It's like giving all the information, giving all your transaction information for free to China. And you just give it for free. No reason at all. Unless a cryptocurrency like Cardano partners with a government and works together, none of them will be used as money. None. Why? It's simply because why use something fancy and complex when you can make something faster, more controllable, more profitable, and comfortable, more private to you, right? So then, what exactly is Bitcoin? Bitcoin removes the trust from the big boys and the governments. That is incredibly good because throughout history there were many banking scams, people creating money out of thin air as they please, empires going down. But at that point, I don't think losing your money would be the biggest problem. But generally, local currencies getting destroyed over and over again is not something new. Just look at the last 500 years of dominant currency. At some point, it was guilder. At some point, it was pound. Now it's dollar, and maybe soon it will be yuan. I'm just saying, how many times do we need to get scammed with unbacked money policies and losing our savings to inflation? I'm just saying. Bitcoin does not inflate. It does not get destroyed, and it is hard to steal. And honestly, I trust Bitcoin much more than the biggest scam in the world, dollar. But Bitcoin is not money. It does not make sense to waste your Bitcoins to buy something. It simply does not. And in order to be a currency, it needs to be a tool to buy and sell stuff. But if it's limited, you don't want to sell it. You just want to hold it, right? And this stops the economy. So Bitcoin is not a money. It's a store of value. Instead of melting your dollars in bank, put it into something that at least holds its value. So what is store of value? Store of value is a way to save your money and do not lose the buying power it has to the inflation. Nowadays, people know that by holding your money in your local currency, you are losing your money to inflation. So local currencies are not a store of value. A historic store of value is gold. This is because it is limited and it is one of the oldest money forms. We humans used and never forgot about it. And in reality, local currencies used to be backed by gold. But then, of course, when people wanted their gold back, the governments, the banks, could not give back the gold because there was not enough gold, because they lied to us. But we know local currencies are not a store of value. So what are some key features of being a store of value? So first of all, it needs to be easily liquidable. This is an important part. So basically it needs to be accepted again, just like money. You can sell your gold easily. Everyone would be happy to buy your gold. Bitcoin can be easily sold too. In fact, Elon Musk said Tesla sold 10% of its Bitcoin holdings to demonstrate the token's liquidity. And that 10% is not small. So Tesla actually proved that Bitcoin is liquidable. As time goes on, as it gets more exposure, this liquidity will only increase. So another part of being a store of value is everyone needs to accept that it's a store of value. So many people and companies need to invest in it. In order to be a store of value, it needs to be adopted by everyone as a store of value. That's why gold is such a good store of value, because it's been used as a store of value for centuries. We know that gold is gold. Bitcoin is lacking in that. But it's also growing. And that's why Bitcoin is not exactly a store of value currently. Currently, it's more like an investment, because when it becomes a store of value, the price will not raise this much or the price will not fall this much. It will be relatively stable and grow the same amount as inflation. But right now it's growing rapidly and it is highly volatile. But this is simply adoption and time. So it needs to be accepted, it needs to be liquidable. What else? Store of value needs to be mobile and secure. And this is where Bitcoin shines. Have you ever wondered why people pay so much money for the fancy watches, the jewelries, It might seem like a stupid investment, but if you're a rich person, it is one of the best investments you can make. Let me explain. The watch that you wear is basically thousands of dollars. Imagine.
Or maybe you don't need to imagine, because you already have a watch like that.
Imagine you have a watch that is thousands of dollars. Just on your wrist, you are carrying thousands of dollars. If you wanted to carry it as dollar, it would take more physical form than your watch. If you wanted to carry it as a gold, it would not make sense to carry it as a gold. So this allows you to be very mobile with your money. This is really important because sometimes life doesn't go the way you want. For example, wars. And in the past, we also saw countries getting people's gold, people's jewelry in hard times. But Bitcoin is incredibly mobile. You do not need any physical thing to carry except your private key, and you can memorize that. Imagine knowing you're off the system and you are carrying millions of dollars in your head, because that diminishes the physical property of value as we use right now. And it is a lot harder to get your tokens stolen, because unlike gold and jewelry, there is nothing physical. There is the private key. And if you can protect the private key, you can protect everything. It gets rid of the fact of vaults, it gets rid of the banks. So Bitcoin is more mobile, secure, liquidable, and limited. So Bitcoin is simply a better version of gold, a better store of value. The only difference in Bitcoin is that it is public. So we know how much each wallet has. This is something not so good. You would not really prefer this, but it's also fine because which wallet is owned by who. But of course this can be discovered because all the exchanges get your personal information and stuff. But that's why there are decentralized exchanges getting built up too. There are some cryptocurrencies like Monero that is completely private, and a big con of gold is it being manipulated by banks. If you have gold in the bank, I'm sorry to break it down to you, but you do not have gold. You cannot get 100% of your gold with those papers. So it is not completely backed. It is somewhat backed, but it's not completely backed. So if everyone were to say, we want our gold, these papers, there would be a big economical crash. In fact, they do not even allow it. It's not allowed. You cannot get it. The amount of paper gold is in the market that you can buy is something between 3 to 4 times more than the real gold. So that means the price of gold is actually suppressed because it's demand and supply, and there's simply a supply that is actually not real. So the store of value that we created in our minds, gold, is actually not a store of value too. It is a scam. And there are some banks that got caught with these incredible stupid scams, and they just get punished by paying an X amount of money. The guy literally creates money out of thin air, and the punishment is, oh, you created $2 trillion with unbacked gold? Nice. The government comes and says, can we get half of it? Is that fine? And then the bank is like, yeah, seems legit. Just don't make a big fuss about it. And all of this is because of the physical limitations of gold. People don't want to store their gold because it's too risky. It's heavy. You need a vault for it. It's kind of easy to steal. If someone breaks into your house, your gold is gone. So banks store it, and banks lie about the amount of gold they have. Sounds just like what happened to the dollar. Dollar was at some point backed by gold, then they lied about it, then they got caught, and then they removed that rule about backing the dollar to gold. So that's the whole point of Bitcoin, that we don't have to trust in some rich guy. We have to trust the 51% of the miners. And not even that. We have to trust in the public. Because as I explained, even if an attack were to happen, it's possible to kind of go back in time and remove the hack. So the trust is removed from that one fat guy to all of us. Bitcoin is not money, it's not store of value. Right now, it is an investment for it to become a store of value. So if you believe that it will become a store of value in the future, it's an investment. If you do not believe it will become a store of value in future, it is trash. And let's talk about future. In future, Bitcoin might be used in global trades because countries need a currency to trade. It used to be gold. It used to be gold-backed currencies. Then at some point, countries wanted their gold back and gave their dollars. America could not pay to all of the countries, so they just said, oh, it's not backed. And right now, most of the countries are still using dollars to trade with each other, but they are changing slowly to trade in between their local currencies. So Bitcoin might be used in global trades because the dollar is dying. And do other countries really trust China? Because China, the yuan right now is shining. The Chinese government said, if you trade with yuan, it's backed by gold, we'll give back the gold. And right now, they are giving back the gold. America used to do that too. America used to say, it's backed by gold and we'll give back the gold. It used to be like that, then they changed it. It's always like that. At the beginning it works, afterwards, because of one guy having all the power, it just breaks down. So what comes after dollar? What I believe is either United Nations will create a currency like Bitcoin that is open to countries but not to public. So the ledger is not completely public but open to the countries. Even that might have problems. And every country will run some amount of mining power, or they do the same mistake of trusting into a country for holding their gold, or it will be Bitcoin because it is already the oldest cryptocurrency and it is incredibly well suited to be used in huge and fast transactions. But I doubt that it will be Bitcoin because of the fact that wallets being public, but it will be 100% a cryptocurrency, maybe backed by Bitcoin, which would make sense because Bitcoin is the gold of cryptocurrency, and when you create a new cryptocurrency that hides the wallet balances, it should be backed by the gold of cryptocurrency. It'll never die. Unless all the countries start working together to create a competitor against it, to create a United Nations cryptocurrency, Bitcoin will not die. And the technology is there to stay. So it's overall a win for us. In a world there are multiple players, and players don't trust each other. Blockchain will be the main point of trust. It is trust in all of us instead of one of us. So for the future, I think it's risky to invest most of the cryptocurrencies right now. Simply, I don't think it's something day-to-day usage for now. This does not mean it will not happen. I just don't see. But not to invest in it would be even riskier, as it definitely has a place in future. After all, European Union needs a better euro. Global trading needs a better dollar. And we don't even know how DeFi is gonna change our lives. So the future is blurry, and as said, countries can develop their solutions instead of using public ones. But I think Bitcoin is the gold of the people and here to stay. Because even if countries create the United Nations store of value currency, how liquidable would it be if they don't share it with the public? If they don't share it with the companies. So overall, I believe if you're interested in cryptocurrencies, be careful, because this technology can be best used by banks and governments. And with projects without any big adoption or a company side helping the adoption, I simply don't see why they would use the less adopted and harder to implement projects. So one might ask, why would European Union use Ethereum? So if all the developers they hire want to use Ethereum because of the adoption, and the European Union doesn't really care, they just want it to be private and they can do that with Ethereum, they can create a currency that uses the Ethereum network, which will inevitably increase the value of Ethereum. So either there needs to be a developer adoption, and this is really important, or there needs to be a company backside. So for example, Cardano has a company backside that works with Ethiopian government. So the government or Cardano went to the government and said, dude, we can do this for you. Do you want to try? And then if it works, maybe we can scale it up, we can do more. And the government is like, yeah, sure, let's try it. But do not sneak into our information. We'll have our own engineers with you so that everything goes well. So with projects without any big adoption or a company side helping the adoption, I simply do not see governments or banks using these less adopted and harder to implement projects. But I can say, if you have saved up money, I believe it is riskier to not get exposed to Bitcoin than getting Bitcoin. And if you want other cryptocurrencies to look into, I would suggest looking into Ethereum, as it is the most adopted DeFi platform, and Cardano, which is like Ethereum, less developed and less adopted for now, but has a company side that is already working with a government. So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is the trust in the public to be able to save your money and protect from inflation. It allows you to diversify your portfolio. If you consider the tokens as your properties, it allows you to own them. You do not own the stocks at your brokerage. You do not own the money at your bank. You do not own the gold, the silver at your bank. So it's trust in the public. Yep. But if the timing is perfect, Bitcoin got hacked or Bitcoin got banned or something bad, really bad happened to Bitcoin, and at the same time or sometime soon United Nations currency came, I do not see how Bitcoin would survive that. But as it said, right now it's an investment to diversify, or it's an investment to the future of new, better store of value.
So after all, I turned out wrong. I said no country would use Bitcoin as currency, and El Salvador said they will use Bitcoin as a currency. So I might be wrong in other parts of the video too. I don't know, to be honest. And this video took a bit more time. As you can see, my shirt changed. So I appreciate likes, and yeah, have a nice day.